Hi Jonas, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. How are you today?
I'm great actually. It's a great day for Ratos. I think we released a very strong report.
We did indeed, and we can't wait for you to tell us more about this. So we're going to start off with the full year of 2021, and then we're going to have a look, of course, at the last quarter of 2021 as well. Hence, we are going to talk about the earnings. But start off with the year 2021. What happened in Ratos?
Actually, I think 2021 is the most important year so far, at least during my time with Ratos. We finalized our turnaround. Those years are gone. Now we're in the growth mode. And we actually increased our EBITDA with 23% during the year and 15% in the quarter. And you know what times we're living in with all the challenges that has come more or less as effects of the COVID.
Well, I totally understand that you are happy today. We have obviously a lot to be proud of, but is there something in this year that you would like to put some extra light on?
The main reason for the success we're showing is, of course, all the fantastic work efforts that has been made in all our companies. But maybe I should mention that this year we transformed ourselves from an investment company to a business group. And this has in itself contributed to even better results. The central financing, the fact that we nowadays can deduct earlier losses from our result, has made the earnings per share to really grow even more than the EBITDA growth. And I think this is extremely important because this is fundamental. Earnings per share in the long run is what wins. Well, now we are in a period when you have compounders, some of them even dilute their shareholders, and the market is a little bit crazy about just EBITDA growth, about just acquisitions. But we are a long-term company. We work with fundamenta as a base. So I'm very proud actually.
It's interesting you mentioned that the turnaround is we are done with the turnaround in Ratos. What would you say if it's the first time you hear this? We're not longer an investment company, we're a business group. What is the biggest difference?
I think in the way we sort of work together with our companies, it's no big change. I think the companies needs to spend less time with banks, more times with customers and employees and acquisitions instead of, do I breach the covenant plan now? What should we do? So it puts focus on the business. But then again, we get more money at the bottom line, which we can use to develop the companies further. Like HL Display, who has done a lot of acquisitions, or have done 3, I should say, but they started this year and they have a great pipeline. So as a stronger main owner, we can fund more money for the development of our companies. I think that's the biggest difference.
Okay, and talking about the business, we have 3 business areas, right?
Yeah.
Should we remind the audience about our 3 business areas?
Yeah. In alphabetic order, it's consumer and services, it's construction and services, and it's consumer and it's industry.
Yeah. And how was the year if we look into the business areas?
Construction and services, able, strong development in everything basically, including the order backlog. I also think the fact that now, if you look at the order backlog in Able, 64% is actually green. It's offshore wind, it's electrification, and what they do actually is substantial. Able is a big company. I forgot the percentage now, but it sort of affects. You can measure it on Norway's emissions of CO2.
Exactly.
What they do.
Yeah, it's actually the
latest. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. It's actually the latest 2 contracts they were awarded in Q4.
Yeah.
It's going to take down the carbon emission print in Norway with 1.5%.
Yeah. And you know what? Our team, all-time high results, all-time high order book, speed, all-time high results. Acquisition, We have, what do we have more?
We have our construction companies, Hent.
Yeah, Hent and Vestia. I think Hent has stabilized its business. Vestia had an enormous EBITDA growth, revenue growth. But the thing that I think is most important for the future is the fact that Hent and Vestia created a new company in Sweden, which will be focusing on just partnering, the business model, that we believe has the future. This is the business model that we believe will gain market share and get happier clients and better profitability also for ourselves. And I think it's very, very interesting, and it's going to be exciting to see how that is will develop. And last but not least, in November we come together with Precis. We acquired 75% of the shares in Precis Infra in Norway, and I think this is a very interesting platform for growth in the infrastructure services sector.
We're actually going to meet the CEO of Precis Infra later in the show. So
that's great.
That.
Yeah, say hi to Eivind.
Will do.
He's a great guy.
Will do. Let's move on to the next business area.
Yeah.
Which one?
That is consumer. I know them all.
Very good indeed.
Well, fantastic year for consumer. Plantasjen, all-time high, record high, whatever you measure. I think what is maybe even more important is that they've actually gained market shares substantially, actually, last 2 years. So it's not just the corona boost, and there is so much underlying details or in everything from logistics to what kind of products do you sell, OPEX efficiency, and so on. So it's going to be very interesting to follow Plantasjen going forward. Oase, record high, all-time high. Very strong order book coming into 22, so a super year there. KVD actually made a substantial acquisition during the year with Forsbergs.
Actually going to meet the CEO of Forsbergs also later in the show.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, the acquisition of Forsbergs has, of course, improved the results. So the EBITDA development is great over the year for KVD. In the fourth quarter, Forsbergs, it's a seasonal quarter where they lose money, basically. So, but the yearly results are very good.
Okay, but last but definitely not least, it's time for industry.
Industry. Well, we have record high results here as well.
And what about the deal?
A great year for LEDiL, Josephine. All-time high EBITDA, all-time high sales, and this in a complex world with freight from China, etc. The new organization that stays much closer to their clients than before is one of the reasons, I think. But a great year.
I mentioned it in the beginning, but it's worth repeating. HL Display was the first company that went out on their growth journey through acquisitions. Why were they first? They had a profitability level, they had the stability in structure and processes, and they had a market-leading position. So I'm not going to talk about all the acquisitions now. They made 3 this year. They have a pipeline that is strong, but they did a record year. I'd like to mention TFS, that really are through the turnaround phase, improved their profit roughly 60% during the last year. TFS has been the company, I think, hardest hit by the COVID. They can't do their clinical trials in the hospitals when there is a lot of patients that really needs treatment. So I think the team in TFS with Bassam at the helm, has done a fantastic year. I think that Diab has done a good work and good performance also this year. We must remember that Diab was struck of two things. The wind market went down substantially, especially in China. And you see in the papers about Vestas, but also maybe you don't see it in the Swedish papers, but the competitors or the peers that Diab has actually have a sharper decrease in revenue than Diab had. Diab has a very strong marine segment. But Diab was not only the wind market, it's also a shift in materials, in core materials, that they actually initiated in 18. So two things coming together, results going down. Now they take measures that will reduce cost, etc. And the wind market will be back. Not sure that it will be this year, but I mean, look around. Of course, we will have more wind.
Of course we will. Okay, so that was a sort of a short summary of the business areas and the full year result. We have obviously a lot to be proud of, as we said, but there were challenges as well. I mean, the COVID pandemic continued to be very obvious, both in the private life and in our business group. What would you say is the main takeaways, or if we made any main lessons during 2021?
Yeah, I don't know how much time we have. I just think that COVID has struck us in so many ways. I mean, I think it was in October or so, the ship wharf, or the wharf that Aibel has in Thailand. You know, when we were all sort of vaccinated in Scandinavia, it was 7% vaccinated in Thailand. So it has been, it's just an example of the problems on all the construction places, etc., etc. I think the lessons we learned is that our way of working, very decentralized, the Ratos way, you know, I'm not going to go through it, has worked very well, and I'm very impressed on how basically all employees in the Ratos business group has performed this year with all the challenges that we have had. I think one thing we could have been better on is to be faster with price increases. Some companies has done this very well, some others has been a little bit behind. And we see this also out in the industry outside Ratos. I think we need to work more with pricing coming forward and maintain our gross margins. It's damn important to keep the gross margins. It's very hard to come back if you dilute them.
I see. And if we look into 2022, I mean, you started off telling that we have really strong order books in many companies going into the new year.
Surprisingly, I was actually a little bit positively surprised by the business reviews we had for December. Looked a little bit better than I thought before. But
what are you looking forward to, and what can we expect from Ratos?
The COVID seems to sort of go away. Finger crossed. Knock on wood.
Finger crossed, yeah.
But I do believe that. We have a geopolitical situation that scares me a little bit. So it's hard to foresee basically what happens around that. But our ability to perform during 2022 is better than ever. We are ahead in our growth plan. We have actually grown more in EBITDA this year than we were planned. We have a balance sheet that is stronger than planned. And we have great teams. So I'm looking forward to a new success.
Yeah, can't wait to see that. Well, thank you so much, Jonas.
Well, thank you, Josephine, for having me here. So are you happy with this?
Yeah, I think we got it.
Great.
Thank you.